Hey, what's up? I just want to tap in with a quick video, and I wanna tie in together some points that I made in other videos, some things that I alluded to, and then also just share some insight. So one is I guess the basic way I can say it is sometimes things like I was talking to someone today about like what it means to be educated, and I've said in other videos that I by some of my being influenced by the Grand Sheik Tashriq Bey, the scholar on YouTube, is that erudition might be a stronger word in what we're reaching for sometimes when we say educated, where things like real philosophy, like original thought as philosophy. He The Order Osho points out that philosophy, when a person is referring to philosophy, it's like I think it's philosophy, like it's saying learning or wisdom. Philosophy, if you break down the etymology, that's the word units, it means love of wisdom. I think that fia means like different forms of fia is like different forms of love. And then but that even words that would have that, they can have different inflections, that it can according to Tashriq Bey, a word, there's the etymology is like what the word units that come together that make a word actually refer to as they have come into being, as they come into vogue, and to be like within a language. And then also there's that would be the denotative form of language would be the etymology. And then connotative is, it's the different nuance and inflection that can be added into a word, such as like slang and metaphor. And that's profound, beautiful, eloquent, par excellence, and actually the engine of language, according to a book that I've referenced, making a similar statements that I'll re-reference about poetry, saying that likely the words that what words came in etymology units likely came into being as being prior metaphors, that is connotative word forms. Onomatopoeia isn't it? I think that's like when you have a word that sounds like what it's about. Like I think like sizzle is like a word like that, where sizzle kind of sounds like something sizzling. That'd be onomatopoeia. But I think that a lot of words going back in the deepest sense, the ancient sense. Again, ancient might be a redundant term because it still makes it sound like there's a beginning to something when you say ancient, as though something has started back then. But really, I think that a lot of things don't start and stop. They emerge as a cycle. But as soon as you fixate on a point of beginning or ceasing, it locks you into like a form of linear thinking, where even a word like ancient can be redundant, or eon can be redundant like that, because it's actually more profound than that, and actually more simple and more present than that. So when we're thinking about something profound, beyond profound, it doesn't necessarily have to be old in the sense the word old might be another word that's connotative, where when you call someone or something old, you are imbuing it with, that's a better word, imbuing it with meaning that is different than the reality you're referring to, or even the word you're using to refer to that. And you can actually overlay a form of oppression in the form of ignorance when you use certain words with the different, where you're coming from when you say something would mean something, but also how something can be misappropriated and mistermed and misused. That can go all the way up to scientific, to my taste, quasi-scientific terms, in terms of like diagnosis, with ostensibly scientific diagnosis, such as medical diagnosis. And the scholar Dr. Umar Johnson said that a lot of the medical classifications of human beings is mental conditions are they're a professional opinion at best, and you cannot scientifically prove them or rule them out. And if you could, it would likely involve a degree of you are ascribing meaning to something. So I once had someone so far as like say like, wouldn't it be cool if we could check out your brain? Can we get you into like with this little MRI thing? And there had been nothing wrong with my head at that point, because I hadn't knocked up against nothing. There was not a reason that I could appreciate that you would need to look at the actual brain. But that's the actual what science is like, can I fix your brain? Like how much, so how sophisticated do you know the human being to be, also to be created from within, from without? When our parents conceive us, they conceive us from deep within themselves, and we appear from deep within our parents, and we fashion ourselves, our being, our existence, from within to without, to within. but then when here comes this fool that they read a couple, their parents probably begged, borrowed, and stealed, and did somebody over somehow in order to get ahead enough to have some people's parents got you. Life value is zero sum. So when something comes from somewhere, it came from somewhere. So you don't have a positive sum without a negative sum. You don't have people having debt without some people having surplus, and some people having surplus without some people having debt. But this person's family and background is in such a state that they get to go to some they grow up with some children. They have different advantages with different children that they grow up with, ostensibly on an even playing field. That might be different from different countries, if we're even entitled to an even playing field in certain countries. In the past, it had just been class. Okay, you come from this class, you get this privilege and entitlement. Boom, there you go. But now, in the modern day, we play ball along the lines of a meritocracy and an even playing field, tabula rasa, even a blank slate. And from that point, we're more justified and actually more entitled from that standpoint. A meritocracy can be more entitled than other forms of entitlement, to my taste. But you have these different cohorts that you grow up with, at least in the West, and then some of them, they start to fall off and get picked off by some of the vicissitudes and the misfortunes that may be undue to their station as a young person, or just simply part of economic injustice. People start falling off like flies by the time it starts. So you're together in elementary, and then it gets competitive, and there's more distinctions and more opportunities and more unknown opportunities and more relationships and whatnot, and people start to fall off. So the actual ability of a person, the talent of a person, is secondary to the actual opportunity would be primary to someone's competence, to my taste. But for intents and purposes, people start to fall off. And then you get to the point of like which ones actually get to graduate high school. That had been more of a hurdle in the past, and maybe more of a bar of living different lifestyles in the past, but it's still a hurdle to some people. And then you matriculate, that's what it's called when you go to college. And you go to these well manicured, pedicured lawns, like if you're on a university campus, where that campus looks a certain way, but these different students coming in there, their families have been ahead at one way or another. We can imagine maybe someone was fleeced in order to them to do that, or it didn't get to that point, and you're just simply handed debt in the form of student finance, and you are having your future fleeced in order to participate. The bloody treasure that would constitute, and that comes from that, little of that, to my taste, to my understanding as a civilian and outsider, would actually go to pedicuring these lawns, paying for these buildings and housing and whatnot. Probably the bare minimum goes to that. Where the profit goes, I don't know, but it would go somewhere. And then you have like maybe some people that are paid to take care of the place and make it presentable. And then you go there as a young person, and you have some time on your hands, because that's what school actually, the word school refers to leisure according to Osho. So you have some leisure on your time to pick up different subjects, to entertain different subjects, maybe get some vocabulary and nomenclature that would go with different subjects. But you can appreciate a guitar. A guitar is beautiful and magical, but you can make it sophisticated on top of sophisticated on top of sophisticated if you approach it that way, or you can have fun with it. I think it's more beautiful having fun. But such as the human body, such as anything, it can become sophisticated on top of sophisticated, and you might do cool tricks by doing that, but you actually overcomplicated something. So you have this expanse of these different lawns and these different like ivory towers that people populate, because you don't get to stay there. You populate it while you're there in school. And then you're given a lot of strife because you're given debt. You actually don't truly get to enjoy it because you're inundated with deadlines and which are actually part of a violent competition in terms of the time that it demands and different demands that it places on you. It can be appreciated as violent and injuring to self-esteem, the type of a dog-eat-dog rat race that's involved at higher institution. But you get around to picking up a couple books while you're doing that. You're also frolicking, enjoying yourself, doing any manner of lewd, obscene, activities that are enjoyable for young people. Because what else would young people like to do but different lewd, obscene, fun stuff that we'd be doing in nature otherwise, without all these stupid obligations and these buildings and this social structure that we're being reared and entered into. But you get around to doing all kinds of crazy different stuff. You maybe enjoy yourself. You pick up a few books, and then somewhere along the time somebody gives you maybe a chisel and a hammer, and now you want to take this